Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video. Today I'm doing a review of The Power of the Daleks, or Doctor Who, The Power of the Daleks, special edition. Comes with this nice sleeve. Yeah, it's the first, well, it's the 25th of June 2023 of this recording. It's also the first I think Doctor Who animation I've ever reviewed on the channel. So that's a first. It's also the first one, therefore, that I've watched all the way through. I've watched a little bit of Evil of the Daleks. I've got Macra Terror. I don't think I've ever got around to watching that one. And I've got Galaxy 4, but also I haven't got around to watching that one either. Because I kind of wanted to read the target novelisation of Galaxy 4 first, and then watch the animation, see which I like more. But yeah, this retailed for $9.99, I think it was, at HMV. And that you've got, you know, the Patron bubble there, you've got the Patron years 1966 to 1969, 12 for some reason. You've got this sort of CG cover here, which is alright, but I actually much prefer it on the big sort of cover. You've got the sort of roundels and the Doctor Who logo there, special edition down there, 3-disc thing there. You've got the rest of the stuff and information on the spine that you would standard sort of thing there. Includes, and then all the sort of special features, nice sort of strip of images at the top, all in black and white, and then on the inside you've got the sort of reversible cover, which is essentially the sort of cover of these slip cover, but on the standard disc or DVD case. Even you've got the booklet there with lots of information about the original story, The Power of the Daleks, and then you've got the 3 discs. So yeah, that's everything for packaging. Now just talking about the actual story, or slash the animation, I guess. I've not watched any of the original footage of this recording, if I ever will. I've never watched any telesnap reconstruction stuff, things, not that I'm aware of anyway. And yeah, I thought the animation was really good in this one. I think the thing is, as I think it's Billy Garrett John from Review of Death validly points out, that the animations, when you get a Dalek story or a Cyberman story, or one with the big iconic monsters, they throw a lot more money at them in terms of the animation, and this is no different. It's Patrick Troughton's first story, I think, if I'm not mistaken, The Power of the Daleks, and it's a good story. I think it's odd because it's in so much as I don't feel like it's a great introduction story to Patrick Troughton as the Doctor, because he's just sort of, I don't know if manic is the right word, but he's sort of, yeah, he's well, he's not even manic, he's quite distant, I'd say, in the first few parts. Although that has just reminded me, I do think parts 1, 2 and maybe 3 have really, really good standout cliffhangers. I think part 3 or 4 had a bad cliffhanger, I think it was. But then, yeah, as I say, the first 3, or at least the first 2 cliffhangers were really good. There's nice music, which I don't know if the music they're using is the original music they used in the actual serial. It's a 6-parter, by the way, so you know, you could watch it across 2 days, maybe split it up in 3 parts each day, or 2 days or 3 days with each being a 2-parter, I guess. There's Ben and Polly, which is nice, still in this story, which is nice because they carry over from the 10th Planet, William Hartnell's last story. So although the Doctor's changed, there's still the continuity there, you know, like the companions, although they're very sceptical about who this person is. And they don't even refer to it as regeneration, they refer to it as renewal, which I think is quite interesting, because I'm pretty sure in the script for the 10th Planet, if I'm not mistaken, it said, you know, renewal. It never even said regeneration. I think it's not until Pertwee and the Tom that it's referred to as regeneration. I think, I could be wrong about that, or maybe Tom to Peter Davison. The Daleks are really scheming, maniacal bastards in this, and I love that. It's written by David Whittaker, who isn't Terry Nation, although I'm pretty sure they both co-wrote some of the better, or some of the bigger bombastic, for lack of a better term, Dalek stories like the Chase and the Dalek Master Plan. I think, I could be wrong about that. 60s Doctor Who, if you couldn't tell by how I'm talking, isn't my biggest strong point in my Doctor Who knowledge, as it were. But yeah, I do feel bad / annoyed that there's not a lot of Patrick Troughton material out there, like of him actually in the role surviving in the archives, because I know that he's a very physical actor, very, not even over the top, but very sort of cartoony, you know, bombastic, jumping from sort of the scene to scene, or sort of, not set to set, but like, you know, very expressive and a larger than life character he comes across on screen. He's constantly got the recorder, he's got that hat, that like sort of cosmic hobo hat, which I quite like. I don't know if that pops up again in any other story, but I thought that was kind of cool. I think as well, like with Whittaker to David Tennant in Power of the Doctor, I think from Hartnell to Troughton, the clothes change with the actor, which is a first. I think. Oh no, wait. Actually, I suppose then when you go to the War Games to Spearhead from Space, that also happens. So I think it's actually from John Pertwee to Tom that's the first time that they're still in the predecessor's clothing, which I like, because I've often said on the channel, I think, or maybe just to people online on social media, in the Doctor Who forum / you know, sort of community, that I like seeing the Doctor in their predecessor's costume, like Jodie having Peter's costume, Peter Capaldi's, because it's visual storytelling. It just, you know, you don't need the Doctor, whether it be Jodie Whittaker or in this case Patrick Troughton, to say to Ben or Polly, by the way, I'm the same person, because they're in the previous person's costume, you know, in so much as they are the same, the costume stayed with them. Whereas this one, it's a bit odd because he's just randomly in a scruffy shirt and trousers and like a cloak. There's a nice bit with the mirror at the beginning, and there's some really interesting dynamic choices in direction, I thought, in the TARDIS early on. Nice music. Again, the Daleks are interesting and unique here with the Dalek Scoop, which we now have as a character action figure, which I think is cool. You know, originally when they're all on that sort of conveyor belt, I think the original sort of footage of that is literally like sort of miniatures, like little, like Mattel sort of like, you know, Daleks with like little ball bearings in them sort of thing, which I just think's really cool, because then you fast forward all the way to like into the Dalek and have like little, you know, 3.75 inch Daleks in that Dalek spaceship. So it's like, it's all like, you know, no matter how much money we throw at Doctor Who or the BBC throw at Doctor Who, it's still sometimes cheap and cheerful, which I just love, because that to me is Doctor Who, you know. But again, the characters and the threat and the danger and the acting from the main regulars is what carries Doctor Who, I think, you know. And the fact that, you know, there is continuity here already, and even though we've only had, this is 1966, you know, this has only been on, Doctor Who's only been on for 4 years, and already there's these monsters that have made such a cultural impact in the country that they're brought back for a third time. And as I say, maybe even a fourth or fifth time, I think, by this point. I think there's, how many Dalek stories is there with Hartnell? Maybe 3 or 4, right? I don't know. But the point is that they're really sort of scheming, and there's a build-up to the power of the Daleks, you know. I mean, granted, it's a 6-parter, so you'd hope that it's sort of paced out. I mean, you could argue as well that because of that, there is a bit of padding, and, you know, Molly, I can't remember her name now, the female companion in this story, that's bad, I can't remember her name, #sexist much, but she kind of obviously gets kidnapped partway through. She kind of gets, well, not even sidelined, but just kind of forgotten about partway through, and then pops up towards the latter end of the story, which I thought was a bit annoying. Although there is a nice bit where Pat Troughton's second Doctor goes, oh, she's just very inquisitive. Well, not inquisitive. Very interested in things, or well, not even assertive, but confident, or there's something he says about her being very sort of proactive, and he even says, "Oh yes, I like that," and whilst playing the recorder, that this Doctor is very, again, I wouldn't say he's very warm, which is odd because I always associate the way people talk about Pat Troughton's Doctor is that he's really warm, he's really sort of cuddly, in contrast to Bill Hartnell. But in this, he's maybe not that. But then again, it is his first story, so maybe they told him to be more like Bill Hartnell, and that, or maybe he was just being more like Bill Hartnell because he was the first ever person to ever be another Doctor, which is just insane, isn't it? This is a massive risk on his part, or for him to do this as an actor. The Daleks are really cool. I love the fact that the eye stalk, the sort of, well, not the eye stalk, but the sort of the main sensory bit in the middle there kind of goes like, small to big to, like as though they're actually functional, or like they're actually like, like they can squint and kind of be like a bit bitchy with just their eyes, if that makes sense, or emote even with their eyes. And the idea of them being servants and that, that then gets picked up in Victory of the Daleks, which I also watched Big Doctor Who Day for me today. But yeah, with the whole, would you care for some tea sort of line, which is in my mind iconic now, but it harkens back all the way to this. Obviously Mark Gatiss is a massive Who fan, so of course he wants to harken back to this story, but I don't blame him because it's very atmospheric, it's very, it's very unsettling and very... Again, I think there is a good atmosphere here. The colony subplot stuff, to me, because I've watched so much Doctor Who, it's just a bit meh and a bit boring. But the scientist guy was very cool and interesting, even though he was just a scientist guy. The imagery of the Daleks being like, well, not damaged, but sort of like, cobwebby, you really get this sense of like, this is a tank with a bad attitude, and even then you don't really see them killing a lot of people, not until the sort of latter half of the story, really. Again, it's a lot of what you don't see, almost. It's a lot of build-up and a lot of what the Doctor is almost projecting onto the Daleks, because the Doctor has a history with them, and the Daleks even remember him, and so, like, Ben and Polly are like, oh, well, they recognise him, so he must be like the Doctor, and that, even though I don't even know if Ben and Polly at this point have even met the Daleks. I don't think they have, because the first story they're introduced in with Bill Hartnell is the War Machines, so, they've met the Sidemen, and now they meet the Daleks immediately, which is quite insane when you think about it. But yeah, I did really enjoy this story. The Dalek voices were really good. I couldn't tell if they were using the original Dalek voices from the actual, original 6-part serial, The Power of the Daleks, or if they just got, Nick Briggs to come in to do the Dalek voices, or what. The, 3D rendered sort of Daleks in this were good. I don't know if there's any colour version of this 2D animated reconstruction, or if it's all, if there's only this black and white version. It didn't take me out that it was black and white. Obviously it's a black and white story, but it would be nice. I'm hoping for my own peace of mind that there's the colour version as well. It's just that I know that Evil of the Daleks was in colour when I watched part 1 and 2 ages ago, but then I don't know if then I can go into the special features to find a black and white version, because I'd rather watch Evil of the Daleks now, having watched The Power of the Daleks in black and white. I'd rather watch the sequel or the next Dalek story in black and white as well. But yeah, I'd give Power of the Daleks a solid 8 out of 10. I don't know, maybe even a 9 out of 10. Maybe I'm just starved of really good Dalek stories, or maybe I've just not watched a Dalek story in a long time. I don't know, but as I say, I really liked this one. Patrick Troughton's really good in the role. Obviously, that's I'm not saying anything new here or anything very controversial there. Ben bounces off well with Pat Troughton. There's a good sort of dynamic there. I was gonna say banter there, but there's a good dynamic there. But obviously, Pat Troughton's mainly best remembered for having Jamie McCribbin, played by Fraser Hines, as his go-to second in command. So it does kind of feel like, in retrospect, watching this, I know that these characters are kind of like, for lack of a better term, it sounds awful, but like seat warmers for his next official like Doctor Who companions, as it were. But they still work well here and serve the story decently, and as I say, seem quite proactive, even though Ben is predominantly very agitated by the fact that the Doctor is someone completely different, which is realistic, to be fair. Whereas the female companion is Polly, I think her name is just constantly being like, oh, can't we go back to the TARDIS and that. But at least she likes the idea of the TARDIS, whereas obviously fast forward to Peter Davison's run and you've got Tegan, who hates the TARDIS and hates being a companion, which always baffles me and kind of gets on my nerves, to be honest. But yeah, I'd give like Power of the Daleks, or The Power of the Daleks, like a 9 out of 10. It's a really fun, atmospheric, but sort of slow-paced, I'd say, but there is some action, and the side characters are decent. I mean, I can only imagine what it must have been like to watch this back in the day, because again, it's it could have been a lot of people's first Doctor Who story, because again, this is what, like, year 4 of Doctor Who being on air. 1963 was when it started, so 63, 4, 5, 6. So, like, yeah, 3-4 years in. Also, the title sequences are the live action one, which I thought was a bit odd because I thought they were going to be animated, the title sequence. And it's also just the Hartnell title sequence, which I don't know if that's accurate to the original like transmission of The Power of the Daleks, but I can imagine it maybe being the case, because I can't imagine the BBC being able to turn around the newer Pat Troughton title sequence quick enough and have him in the title sequence and the new logo and the new music, potentially, or tweaked music for the title sequence. So I can imagine they just used the William Hartnell one back then. But I also kind of like that, because it just kind of adds to this, the continuity, although again it was probably just a budgetary thing in the long run, or in the short term even. But yeah, thanks for watching. Please do comment, rate and subscribe to the channel.